Okay, so let's keep talking about the control charts for variables. So in our last class, we mentioned about two different control charts. The first one was the X bar chart, which displays how the average changes over time. And the other one was the R chart or the range chart. And range chart shows how the range of the subgroups changes over time. But in this specific lecture, we will be talking about IMR chart. So once we complete IMR chart, then we are done with the control charts for variables. Then we will talk about the process capability. Okay, so IMR chart is another graphical method of displaying the process performance. So as you can tell from the name, IMR consists of two charts. The first one is the individual chart. So I stands for individual and MR stands for the moving range. Moving range chart. So I chart shows values of each measurement of the process and the mean of each value. MR chart displays the variation for each measurement from previous measurement. So it's kind of comparing the current state with the previous state. So when am I going to use IMR chart? That's a good question. You can use it to identify special causes in the system. And one of the reasons can be to compare the performance of the process at different stages. There are a few notes that I would like to mention. IMR chart is generally used when it is difficult to group measurements into rational group. One example, let's give an example. If we say that my first month sale is 500, my second month is 750, my third month is 850. So 500 units, 750 units, and 850 units, right? So let's assume that those are the products that we are selling. And at the end of my 1 year, so the month 12, so this is first, second, third, this is 11th, 620 units. And the 12th is 950. Let's assume that we're selling cell phones and we basically sold 500 cell phones in the first month, 750 in the second month, and so on. So it's kind of difficult to group those measurements into rational subgroups. So IMR chart is a perfect chart to use such a case like this. And sometimes it's not possible to draw samples because the process is slow, that only 1 or 2 units per day are produced. And if that's the case, again, IMR charts is really useful. So let's just summarize what we just talked. So individual chart or I chart is basically a mechanism tool to check the stability of a process for the mean level. Moving range, it checks the short term. It checks the short term variability of a process. All right. So how do we construct IMR chart? Let me erase that. Give me 1 second. So like we did in the first two charts, X bar and R chart, we have the control limits for IMR chart too. the control limits for eye chart is different from the control limits for MR chart. So for individual, the way that we calculate upper control limit is X bar plus 3 MR divided by D subscript 2. And lower control limit is X bar minus 3 MR divided by D2. For moving range, it's a little bit easier. This is MR, by the way. This is I, and this is I2. So upper control limit is D4, D subscript 4 times MR bar, and lower control limit is D subscript 3 MR bar. Okay, so what is the procedure for that? First of all, we need to calculate MR. MR was what? MR was the moving range. And moving range is the absolute value of the differences between consecutive measurements. Okay. The second one is we want to calculate the process average and average moving range. Calculate process average and average moving range. So average moving range is equal to MR bar. Okay, so we want to calculate the process average and the MR bar, and the process average was what? It's X bar. Okay, step number 3. N is always equal to 0. Okay, so because we want to use the lookup table, and whenever we want to use that lookup table for IMR chart, N is always equal to 2. The reason is that you calculate the moving range of 2 consecutive points. Okay, so you're basically comparing your current state with the previous state. Okay, this is why N is always equal to 2. We will be going over an example to explain this. So but you don't have to know the reason, just know that N is always equal to 2. Okay, so number 4 is which is the last one, and we want to construct the control charts. All right, let's go over an example. So here I provide the formulas under column K and under column, well, it's under column K, right? So those are the formulas for MR chart, and those are the formulas for individual chart or eye chart. And the table of control charts I provided on this Excel, but whenever you do your homework, whenever you have an homework assignment about those control charts, you can take those values from your PDF file or from your handouts that you may have printed out. But just to make my job easier, I basically inserted this table of control charts on my Excel file because I want to pull some value from here. Okay, so here's our example. Let's say that I work as a salesperson and I deliver medicines, okay, to doctors' offices. And for the first quarter, I consumed 6.9 gallons of gas, and the second quarter, I consumed 4.8 gallons of gas, and the third one is 5.8, and so on. So as you can see, it's kind of difficult it's kind of difficult to group those numbers into rational group because those numbers vary, and I don't find a logical way. I cannot find a logical way to group those measurements into rational group. So I come to a decision that IMR chart is a perfect way for this specific case. So what do I do next? Well, if we go back to our steps, we want to calculate the MR first. Okay, how do I calculate the MR? Well, moving range, again, moving range, you're comparing your current state with the previous state. So this is 6.9. For the first quarter, I consumed 6.9 gallons of gas. And I cannot compare 6.9 with the previous state because there is no previous state. 6.9 is my starting point. So I'm going to leave this cell blank. Okay, for the second one, as I mentioned in the beginning of my video, I'm going to take the absolute value of B3 minus B4. 2.1. So again, how did I calculate that? 4.8 minus 6.9. Again, I'm comparing my current state with the previous state. This is what moving range is all about. So I'm going to erase that. All right. So what is this one? This one is going to be 5.8, which is here, minus 4.8. So again, I'm taking the absolute value. It's B5 minus, I'm sorry, it's not B5. It is B5 actually. It is B5 minus B4. Okay, so it is 1. So like 2 or 3 minutes ago, I mentioned that n is always equal to 2. And that's the reason why n is always equal to 2, because we're only comparing 2 states here. Okay, we're only comparing 2 states. So this is why n is always equal to 2. We are not comparing 5.8 with the rest of the data. You're comparing your current state with the previous one. Okay. So I hope that this is clear. So I can calculate the rest. Just double click on that small green box here and it will calculate the rest of it automatically. Okay, perfect. So we already calculated our moving range for each subgroup or each quarter for this case. So what is next? Let me just go back to my in my instructions. So it says calculate process average and moving average. Okay, moving and the average moving range, which is MR bar. Okay, so process average is the average of my gas consumption. Okay, so average, I'm taking the average of this. There you go, it's 4.9. And MR bar is the average of my moving range, okay? So average, oh, something went wrong here. Let me see. Average. Okay, there you go. I got it. It's 1.58. All right. So that means I calculated my process average and average moving range. So what is next? What is next? Well, I didn't put it here. Maybe we can put as step 3. We can put that in step 3, but we want to calculate the upper control limit, lower control limit, and central limit, right? Let's insert those under step 3. All right. So let's calculate the things for MR chart first. Again, we want to look at the lookup table. And if we look at the lookup table, one second. All right, so n is always equal to what? N is always equal to 2. And what am I looking for? I'm looking for d subscript 4. So this is the value that I'm looking for, which is f. This is f38. All right. What is my MR bar? MR bar is C33, cell C33. Okay, so that should give me the upper control limit. That's my upper control limit. Again, let's just double check our work. D4 and sample size is equal to 2. This is 3.267. And MR bar, which is this value here, is 1.58, so the total is 5.19. So what's my lower control limit? For n is equal to 2, my d subscript 3 is equal to 0. Okay, so I don't need to do anything about it. I don't even have to write the formula because my constant, which is d subscript 3, is equal to 0. So 0 times anything will give you 0. Okay, so what's my central limit? My central limit is the average of my MR. So MR bar is my average. What's my MR bar? It's here, 1.58. So I'm going to say this is C33. All right, so that was easy. Let's look at this. Let's look at the individual values. Okay, X bar. My X bar is 4.9, which is cell B33. Okay, plus I'm going to open the brackets or the parentheses 3 times, because it says 3 times, open the parentheses again. So this time I'm looking at my MR bar, which is C33. Okay, C33 divided by D2. Okay, D subscript 2 is equal to 1.128. It's right here. So this is cell D38. D38. Okay, I'm gonna close the parentheses here and one more here. That should give you 9.141114. You can use only 2 digits or 3 digits, doesn't matter. So how do we calculate the lower control limit? I'm going to be using the same formula. Okay, so I will be using the same formula. I'm going to do copy paste. Copy paste. All right, the only thing that I need to change here is the plus sign. So change it to minus sign, and there you should be getting 0.68553. Okay, what's your central limit? Your central limit is the average of your gas consumption, which is 4.9, cell B33. Equal sign B33. All right, nice. So we calculated our control limits for individual charts and as well as the MR chart. Let's populate all these values in our D, E, and F columns. Right click, format cells. I'm gonna do merge cells because here I will write MR chart. So I'm gonna put here I will be inserting all my control limits for my MR chart. So let's just send. Is it center? Yes, this is center, right? Okay. All right. So upper control limit, lower control limit, and central limit. All right. This is not centralized. There you go. My upper control limit, lower control limit, and central limit. I'm basically transferring all these numbers here to these columns, okay? So basically I'm transforming all these numbers into columns. Upper control limit is 5.193. Actually, we can just do L10, right? L10, it will give us that value. All right, I'm gonna lock it so that I can just do a double click on that green box, and there you go. So that's the values that I was looking for. So for lower control limit, we know that it's always 0, so I don't need to do anything about it. For central limit, it's cell L12. Let me lock it. Okay. So these values are for the MR chart. Why do I transform all these numbers into our columns? The reason is that because we will be making one by one comparison, and I'm sure that there's a way to take those values one by one and put it on our chart, but this is just easier. Okay. Let's do it for the eye chart too. Eye chart. Let's insert our values for eye chart 2. Again, I'm gonna merge all these 3 cells. Format cells, merge cells. Is it in center? No, it's not. Okay. Upper control limit, lower control limit, and central limit. Again, same procedure. My upper control limit is L16. Lock this cell. I lock the cell L16. And my lower control limit is L17. And my central limit is L18, $18. Okay. I mean, you can play with the design and everything, however you feel comfortable with it, but this is how it should look like. In fact, let me just play with it a little bit so that it looks beautiful too. Okay. So I'm trying to put an outsider box here so that we can see the values clearly. All right. So this step is done. So the last step is construct the control charts. Step number 4. In step number 3, we calculated our control limits, and we put everything in those columns that we created, right? So how do I do that? Well, I need you to select MR values here and your control limits for the MR chart, and go to insert, go to insert line or area chart, and click on the first thing which says line on your screen. Alright, so this is our number one control chart. Let's name this. This is our MR chart. Alright, so let's change this a little bit. Again, if you don't see this format series data box, just right click on it, format data series, then go to, let's see, go to the fill end line and click on marker and change this to marker options and click on built-in. You can select any shapes that you like. I prefer circle. Click it circle and play with the size. You can even play with the color. Okay, so this is just from the design perspective. You don't have to do this part. But it's easier. It's easier because this tells me that my process is out of control. Why is that? Because I have lines. I have those red circles outside of my limits. This is my upper control limit. The orange line that you see is my upper control limit, and this gray line that you see is my lower control limit. So apparently, I have a few lines outside of my limits. In fact, when you just scroll over on this orange line, you're going to see that it gives you the upper control limit value, which is 5.19. And this gray line is 0. Okay, so this was our first chart. Again, you take all the values for MR chart, upper control limit, lower control limit, and central limit. And MR chart is compared with the MR values, which is the moving range values. Then you go to insert, you go to 2D line, then create your chart by clicking on the first icon. So how do we do the individual charts? Okay. Select gas, then press and hold Alt. Oh, that didn't work. Select gas and press and hold Control. I didn't mean to say Alt. It's Control. Oh, let me close it. Okay. So I selected all the values in gas. I'm pressing and holding Control, then I'm selecting all my values under iCharts. Right after you select this, go to Insert, go to 2D line or the Insert line or area chart, and click on that. Okay, so this is my iChart. Perfect. So let's go to Format Data Series, which is here. Click on the first box here, which is Fill in Line. Then go to Marker, Marker Options, go to Built-in. Again, you can select whatever you like. Then change the size. If you like, you can change the color, and you can even play with the compound type and all other things, all other fancy things. But I think that's enough. Okay, so I'm looking at my iChart, and I see that there's a variation in my process. Now, all these variations, all these blue boxes here, can be normal. But I have one outlier in my system, which is right above my orange line. That's my upper control limit, right? So this blue line means my process has special variation. Okay, so I need to pay some attention to that point. If I want to fix that model, I need to pay some special attention to that blue line, that blue box, because this is my outlier, and I don't want it. I don't want any outliers in my system, or I don't want any outliers in my life. So we want to get rid of that. How do I get rid of that? You go back to process, and you basically improve your process by implementing new methodologies. It can be anything, but this shows that we are not talking about the methodologies here. The purpose of this video, or the purpose of this study, is to show that there's a variation in our system, which is this blue box, and that variation is special variation. That's out of normal conditions. Okay, so this is it for IMR chart. I hope that you enjoyed it. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm here to help. Thank you.